Menteri Rangba Jala Meghalaya Konrad Kisangma Ula Pentip Bakar Potrik Kula Lengkot Ajar Puar Mau Lembar Menteri Rangba Jala Assam Himanta Biswa Sarma Kinlek Ban Aiti Kaiphod Ban Pynbeit Puad Apering Gini Arjala Hau Menteri Kampung yang Kesokan India Amit Shah Habakran Nagilat Petai Kubor di Kejalan Kurun Menteri Kerkenai Terik Kula Lengkot Ajar Puar Menteri Rangba Ula Ong Bagi Ajmut Nagilai Teli Regional Committee La Mencur Ban Pynbeit Yupur Sam Ula Ong Bagi Gini Kijing Ajmut Bala Ai di Regional Committee Nailang Rengkat Kijing Ajmut Nag Jala Assam Sekretariat Kampung yang Kesokan India Kapan iPad Yakarai Kabakadu.
The Cabinet today has approved the proposal or the recommendations that have been given by the committee, and these recommendations will now be forwarded along with the recommendations from the Assam government to MHA for further action. We will not share the committee report because, as I said, we have finalized, but we will be presenting this to MHA, and Assam also will be presenting it to MHA. And after we have the detailed discussion there, the Government of India and the MHA will have to come to a final conclusion. But more or less, the structure has been reached after a long drawn exercise between the two states. Without going into the maximum details of this, because we'll make it available to you after our meeting with the Honorable Home Minister, which will be tomorrow evening, post 6 o'clock, we'll be meeting the Honorable Home Minister. The important aspect is that we as state governments have felt very strongly that yes, apart from historical facts that are there, it is very important to keep the people's sentiments in mind. And therefore, the willingness of the people in specific areas has been one of the main driving forces or the principles on the basis of which we have reached to most of the conclusions in most of the areas. We have also seen ethnicity as something very important. Both the state governments have felt strongly that any state government may try to claim some areas, but the people living in those areas, if they don't wish to be with a particular state, one cannot force people to forcefully come into a particular state. So this has been the basic driving principle for us, and that's why we have gone down to the grassroots level, and the committees have meticulously gone and visited every single 36 villages which were under dispute or differences in the 6 areas that were there. And after detailed visits to these 36 villages, we have finally come to an understanding where we have tried to follow these principles that I have just mentioned to you. So you have heard the ministers and the Honorable Chief Minister yesterday. They have given you some aspect of the report, but I would refrain from going into details fully right now, and I will be giving the report to you and details to you once we finally come to a conclusion. I mean, we have come to a conclusion, but we would like to share it with MHA. But what is most important to remember and to note today is that it's really a very, very important day, and this very important issue which has been there for the last 50 years and was very difficult to move forward from all angles, that today, due to the efforts made by the different committees and the 2 state governments, we are actually finding and seeing a solution that's coming out, where we have consulted multiple stakeholders, we have had multiple meetings and multiple visits, and as I said, this is truly a very, very important and a historic moment where we are able to actually move forward and resolve some of the areas of differences that are there. So I'm sorry I'm not able to share the full details with you, but as I said, Assam has given some idea yesterday. It is more or less in that line, but we will be able to give you more details once I return from Delhi tomorrow late night. No, it's not about who gains more or who gains less. I think it's always important to not stick to our positions. I've been very, very clear in all my discussions that when we stick to our position of ours, then we can never find a way forward. So the position is not about, as I said, the position is what? Position is that that we will not leave any inch, we will get more, we will get less. That's not the way to look at how we resolve a problem. We need to resolve a problem by looking at whether our interest is being served or not. What is it that matters to us? What is it that concerns us? And that's why, as I said, when we started looking at the interests of the state and the people, then our entire outlook to the problem changes. And that's why we felt that we need to see what the people want. And that's why, as I said, the driving force has been the will of the people and the ethnicity. And therefore, we must look at those aspects. And therefore, keeping that in mind, it just so happens that there are a lot of areas in the border area which have a large Garo population, some Khasi population. In some areas, we have a large Rabha population, some Nepali population, some Assamese population, and other tribes also are there. So based on that, what has suited the local people there more, trying to again look at the other factors of contiguity or other factors of governance, all those aspects into mind, and historical data also, we tried to come to the most amicable solution that is there. So I would refrain from saying that who got more or who got less, as I said, but the interest of the states has been kept in mind, the interest of the stakeholders have been kept in mind, and the best possible solution that we could come to has been arrived after, I don't know how many meetings, I forgot the count also, but multiple meetings have taken. It has been arrived, as I said, by ensuring that the interests of the people living in those areas have been taken into consideration. The interest of the stakeholders has been taken into consideration, and both the states have worked together to come to an understanding where we keep these factors in mind and resolve it. So the next step, as I said, will be that we will proceed to Delhi tomorrow, both Assam, Honorable Chief Minister of Assam and myself, and we will submit this report to the Honorable Home Minister. And after that, since both the states have more or less agreed, I should say 100% agreed on both the reports, so we are going to be submitting more or less a common report. And then I think further the Government of India will have to move, according to the laws for the bill to be put up. But while that happens, administratively, the two states will further discuss about the nitty-gritties in each location, because as you're aware, that we can work out the villages that are there. So we can agree on villages, but demarcating a border, these are aspects which are within the provisions of the parliament and the powers of the parliament. So therefore, those aspects will have to be done at the parliament level. Survey of India will have to come in. Joint inspections maybe have to be done, and the bill has to be there. So all those aspects are there. But as I said, we have managed to at least move a step forward where we have said that these villages are there. And in some areas, we have actually been able to look at some natural boundaries that are there, like rivers and forest covers to kind of demarcate some of the boundaries. In fact, in most cases, we have been able to do that. Now, that will be, again, as I said, placed at the Home Minister's level. We can have administrative units and administrative control over certain areas, but the actual demarcation of the boundary line will have to be done by government. But I think what is important to note is that, yes, before the 21st, we have actually managed to come to some kind of an agreement on the six locations of differences. So roughly, as I said, there were 36 villages that were there in the entire disputed area. And the square kilometers was 36.79 square kilometers of areas that were the differences.